Hi, welcome to Open Range. I am your host, Will Gardner. Thank you for joining us today. And I am with Century 21 Morrison Realty. And today we have another agent from Century 21. And I brought in Melanie Steiger to help us navigate some of the news that's going on in the real estate world. I like having other perspectives and hearing what other agents have to say. And Melanie, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. Well, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So, Melanie, one of the things that we're going to talk about that we don't know yet what's going to happen with some of the changes that's happening. There's what's called this FinCEN regulation that's coming out, and that we're going to start to have to deal with in transacting real estate. And we've gone through a couple CE courses with this already, and we've learned about this. It's one of the things I love about my job and our job is that we're highly educated, or we get so much education about how things affect people and helping our clients avoid the pitfalls of problems that happen during transactions. And when our broker first talked about this, I was like, oh, boring. What does this have to do with getting things sold for our clients? But as we gone through the training, there was definitely some eye-opening information that I thought that was interesting, to say the least, things that we can help our clients avoid problems in their transactions. But let's maybe just take a step back first, and can you explain to the people what FinCEN is?
Yes, absolutely. So FinCEN itself stands for the Federal Crimes Enforcement Network. So FinCEN actually has been around for quite some time, just not in our area. So FinCEN originally began, its purpose is to help eliminate money embezzling through real estate transactions, okay? So it started more on, let's say, like the coastal cities. It started in Florida, New York, thinking of those areas, right? So it's been in effect for quite a while in those areas. Those were the start of the FinCEN reporting. The purpose of it is to create transparency in a transaction to prevent the possibility of money laundering through real estate, okay? Now we're starting to see it here. It will be required that title companies will have to report for any closing, and we'll explain what qualifies and what doesn't, but any closing that happens after March 1st. So just a few days away, and we're gonna be in the thick of it. What do criminals do when they start to crack down on those coastal cities is they move other places? So now it's going to be here, and we're gonna be starting to report as well.
So one of the things that I like to point out to people, because I was one of those kids in class that didn't do something unless I knew that there was a purpose to doing it. And so I think for our viewers, one of the things I think is important to keep in mind is what is the benefit? How is this going to affect me, the regular person out there that has a property for sale? One of the headlines I like to bring to people's attention is we want to know how this is going to affect negatively a seller or a buyer. So one of the problems that I could see, that I foresaw, one of the headlines is cash may no longer be king when it comes to real estate accepting offers with cash. That could be maybe more of a problem. It may be less desirable. There may be a buyer that would rather take financing instead of cash, depending on their scenario. And to me, that was a really big shakeup, because that's a age-old adage that you would have, that cash is king, right? Everybody hears that, knows that saying, and knows what it means.
Yeah.
And so I want to understand, how did this all start? Like, why do we have to worry about money laundering? And were there other parts of industry besides real estate that had this issue of money laundering? And I believe that's what BOI started with, right? Like the beneficial ownership information.
We had all heard about BOI. I believe it was in 2025 probably, that you had to disclose your entities or your LLCs, and then it was squashed. But this is not BOI. FinCEN is different. But I do just want to back up a little bit, Will, if I can, because this is not going to affect every real estate transaction or every cash real estate transaction. Right. For the record, if you are a regular John Smith and you are purchasing real estate in the state of North Dakota with cash, without financing, this will not affect you. You will not be one of the individuals that have to report. This new reporting is only going to be if you are purchasing real estate in the state of North Dakota with all cash in the name of an entity or a trust. So an LLC, a corporation, an LLP, all of the things, or a trust. Then the buyer triggers the reporting. Where you're saying cash may no longer be king, where that may come into effect is I have an LLC, right? So if I want to purchase a property in the name of my LLC using all cash, the seller will need to know that is my intent. And with me doing that, if they accept my cash offer in the name of my entity, they will now be subject to the FinCEN reporting. And
Yep, that's right. And so it's not overarching, but what you're going to find out is that in a lot of times with real estate, it's going to be the times when you think that you don't think about it, that's when it's important. So us as agents, we have to constantly, it's just another thing in our minds that we have to remember. When I see an offer come over, just like you said, Melanie, if I see that it's coming from an LLC, as a buyer being an LLC, and if I see that the seller is a very private person, that could be, in my mind, where it gets triggered. Also, it is the state of North Dakota, but this is all the United States. This is not just North Dakota, this is a federal requirement. And the fines are steep. The fines are, fortunately for the public, it's not for you. The fines are gonna be for the title company, and lawyers and anyone who's doing the actual transaction. The burden is on them to collect the information and submit it. It's not on the persons. Fortunately, that's the case. As a regular seller, you don't need to necessarily worry about it. It's just that if you're a private person, and there's a lot of people, and that's why I think a lot of people love real estate, is because they like the privacy. They like being private, and that privacy is so important. And so that's why it stuck out to me is, wow, this could affect a few deals this year for myself. So it starts March 1st.
Yes.
And they had some other start dates in the past, but
yeah, like anything, there's several things that go into changing a change like this. Yes, dates have been pushed back a little bit, but March 1st is the date. And to talk about what you had just talked about, the title companies will not close if they have not received this information. It is not our duty as agents to collect it from you. It is our duty as agents to inform you that this is going to be needed and that you need to contact the local title company to fill out any required forms that are needed, or we will not close on the property.
And just like everything, this is, again, why you have agents, why you have realtors, because we know these rules and these issues. This may not affect half of you. It may not affect 3/4 or even 80% of you, but all these little gotchas, are reasons why it's really important to have these conversations and know someone who is going to take care of you. If you are in the middle of a real estate transaction and you haven't heard about this, and this could be something that would affect you, remember, this is not just Bismarck, not just North Dakota, not just Fargo. This is everywhere. So if we have some snowbirds going down south to Arizona, Florida, whatever, and you have property down there, this is going to affect a lot of you. And so this is, again, something that I think we're going to keep an eye on. March 1st is Monday. Today is going to be the day that it's live, and I don't have any. I might have one, I think on Tuesday, tomorrow I have one. Yeah. And so we'll see how it goes. Yeah. There was one that we were trying to get done by Friday because it was being bought by an LLC for cash. And so the alarms are going off in my head already.
And sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to quickly go over before we end this segment about, I actually have a form in front of me of some of the information that's collected.
Great.
So if sellers, you're saying some people are private, they don't want to disclose the information. What information are they going to be collecting? Here are some of the things that could be required. It could include, but it's not limited to, of course, legal names, date of births of the individuals, dates of the execution of trusts, addresses, DBAs, citizen information for trustees or beneficial owners, tax ID numbers, social security numbers, possibly account numbers and financial institution names. So that's just a few of the things that could be collected that may prevent a seller from wanting to disclose all that information, not because they're doing anything wrong, because they don't want their information in possibly a government.
So we have about a minute left, and basically, on the big picture, the philosophical level, it's one of those. In some ways, I don't think these are little freedoms that I guess we lose, privacy, and a little bit it chinks away, but. Then the benefit of this is that hopefully we can crack down some of the money laundering issues that happen. They were talking in our sessions about oligarchs from Russia buying out $20 million for these condos that are in downtown New York, and then not even caring, oh, it's really worth $19 million. I don't care. Here's the money, because they just need to get that money laundered and cleaned. A really interesting topic, something we're going to keep tracking.
Yeah.
And yeah, so thanks, Melanie, for the information here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we would like to jump into the first slide here. We have a little hot property segment we talk about, and so I'd like to show our first slide here. This one. Melanie, I'm going to let you take this away here since this is your listing. Tell us a little bit about this property.
Absolutely. Thank you, Will. Yes, this property is one of the Fine Home and Estates listings through Century 21 Morrison. It is a beautiful townhome on Misty Waters Drive, just a short, beautiful drive on River Road up to Misty Waters. It's right on the banks of the Missouri River.
And whenever I hear fine homes and estates, it's expensive. No, it's not expensive. It's just a higher end home.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty well priced. Tell us about location wise. So this is in north.
Yeah, yep. It's just a short drive from the north side of Bismarck up River Road. And like I said, it's right on the banks of the Missouri River. It's a great little private, and you feel out of town, but you're still very close to everything.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I love about it, is how peaceful I feel when I'm out there.
Price on that and, and the bed and bath and
Sure.
that's like some of the specs.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, it is 2,954 square feet finished. It is a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, and it is currently listed for $825,000.
So I don't know if we can go back to the pictures. If we can go back to the overview one, I think that was the first slide. I was just trying to remember here. Is it in the channel, or which home is
Yep,
this?
it's in the channel.
Okay.
You'll see those 2 twin homes there on the bottom right of your screen.
Okay.
It is one of those. Yep.
Okay. So I think we have a couple more pictures. If we could just maybe go to the next one there.
Yeah.
So
That's the front of the home. Yep, that is the front of the home. They did do fresh sod, so that's nice. You don't have to worry about landscaping. All the sprinklers are in.
Yep.
All the sod is in.
I think I actually sold one of these twin homes along the road
Possibly.
here. So this one has both the builder on this one. Do you know who that one is, or is it?
The builder on this one finished half of the property and then did not finish the other half.
Oh.
And my clients acquired it after that point.
Okay,
And they
okay,
finished it.
okay.
Yes.
We have one other photo. If we can put that one up.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite photos. The things I love about this property is the natural light when you're in that home, in that area, is just gorgeous.
No.
And there is a 2-story all stone fireplace, custom cabinets from a local cabinet shop, Woodcraft Unlimited, here in town. So it just screams luxury when you're there, and I just love it.
Beautiful listing. Again, the
you.
price on it?
$825.
Oh yeah, that's not too bad.
That is not bad at all.
Yeah, that is. So we also, I guess, want to transition a little bit to talk about another topic here, the primary tax credit.
Yeah.
Mel, we've all been dealing with this issue with our clients. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about what that is? I'm sure many of you, tell us a little bit about what it is.
The primary residential tax credit, so it's a tax credit that is offered to all of us on our primary residence here, and it is $1,600 this year for 2026.
And the people that qualify for this are, if it's your primary residence, which I think is brilliant because it's, obviously you want to save money, but I like the fact that North Dakotans, people that live here in North Dakota, are getting the tax break. And so, nothing against Bill Gates, or maybe, I don't know, but if somebody comes in and some Chinese company comes in and buys out a bunch of land, like, they're not getting this tax break. It's North Dakotans that live here that get the tax break.
Yes, absolutely.
Not large out-of-state owners.
And I've noticed with my clients, and I'm sure you have noticed with yours as well, Will, but it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference for them. When you break down that $1,600 in the year, it could decrease your monthly payment by a little over $100 a month, and sometimes that's definitely needed.
And we're just starting to go over settlement statements for this year in our closings. So we're starting to have closings. This is February, so I've had a few, and I had 4 last week. I'm looking at the settlement. I'm starting to look at the taxes on there. So the 2025 taxes are now available, and so we can see those taxes. And now I'm seeing like houses that typically would have $3,800 in taxes are now at like, what is it? Doing the math. Shouldn't have I should have done an easier number, 3,600, and say it's $2,000.
It's 26,
Or 1,800, or I remember seeing 1,800 and it should have been like 3,400 or something
Right.
like that. And so it was really interesting to see like a house. I'm like, holy smokes, this can't be right. The taxes should be a lot higher.
Yeah.
So you have to really go through the tax and look at the details to see that primary tax credit, just to make sure when you're looking at the taxes, to make sure you're looking at whether or not they did get the tax credit or not, because either they may have, and that's why the taxes are so dang low, or they may not have, and you realize, oh wow, I can take $1,600 off that. Have you noticed anything yet in your closings, or have you noticed those tax statements at all?
Yeah, I have definitely noticed the tax statements, and definitely communicating to my clients, especially if we're noticing that maybe the seller right now it's not their primary residence, so they haven't applied for the tax credit. And if you're closing before April 1st of this year, because that's the deadline. So if you have not submitted for your tax
Your application.
application, thank you, you need to do so by April 1st. But if it's owned by somebody that can't claim it now, we need to make sure that as soon as we close that you go in and fill out that application, so that next year when those taxes 2026 come due, that you do have that credit available to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really important.
So there's some rule changes. And for example, last year,
Why wouldn't there be
Right,
in our
right.
business daily?
yeah, between us and the government, we're going to have rule changes, unfortunately. And it's not just the realtors, this is more on the political side. There's been some changes that you will no longer, so for example, I think previously last year, and things were even changing last year, as I remember, you could not transfer that tax credit, or you could transfer it up until a certain date, and then after that date. I was told July 1st, and then but I've heard other dates, and it's been so long, it could have been June 1st. Now I'm second guessing myself. Last year is last year, but this year, you've talked to the tax commissioner.
Yeah, I talked to the tax commissioner's office. It's also available on their website, tax.nd.gov. And that's where you would submit your application. It does have that April 1st date. If you are under contract right now, currently on a house that you're planning on closing April 5th or 10th or something, definitely what I was told yesterday was go ahead and apply for it now, and then they will need to follow up with a phone call to make sure that closing happened and everything like that. Yes, I think there's still, like what you said, I feel like there's a lot of confusion around this still between all of the different people involved, whether that be realtors and title companies and tax office. So I feel like it's so important. I can do my due diligence and call the tax commissioner's office for you, but I also then want you to follow up with a phone call as well, so you hear the information as I did. So I just think for right now, have all of our buyers and sellers get this information as well for themselves, or at least clarify what we were being told.
So one thing that I was told by the tax commissioner himself, I went to our district convention here in Mandan, and one of the things that the commissioner told me was that there will be no more transfer this year. It's going to simply be...
I did hear that as well.
It's simply going to be, it stays with the property. It does not go with the homeowner. I had a deal last year where the buyer wanted to buy the property. It was coming right on the deadline date, so the closing was after April. It was after the deadline. I can't remember if it was April, March last year, but it was after the deadline. And so this is why part of what we do as agents is we're thinking ahead of these issues and helping negotiate how this is all going to unfold, how we can get the best deal for your side of it wasn't you against me in that one. You're always working with your other agent and trying to get the best deal for your own client and trying to negotiate that, because what happened was the buyer, in my case, was trying to get a tax credit, and then the seller said, okay, that's fine, I'll apply for it. And then the seller realized later that they might want to transfer it to another property. It was a long story. They didn't need to because they already had another one. It was a separation anyway. Long story short, the seller really didn't need the credit, but was like, then I want a proration of that tax credit. And then it got really messy. And then all of a sudden it was like, we're going to cancel the tax credit. So it was a kind of a crazy thing. This is going to help a lot, because the ability to not transfer it now is going to make it a lot more clear that if you apply for it, it's just going to stay with the property and no one can take that away or transfer it out before the end of the year. It's amazing. You change rules in society, you change rules in the process, and then everything starts to be affected by it. Are there any other things that you can think of with the primary tax credit that's worth noting.
I did hear a stat just the other day that even if you're not buying or selling right now, it's just very important if you have a primary residence to go on to the tax website and make sure that your application is filled out. The stat that I heard is only 30% of homeowners that qualify for it have actually applied for it. That is a very low number. It is $1,600 of free money in my eyes, and it takes 2 seconds for them to go online and fill out the application.
So that's a good
I think it's a great...
What's the address?
Yeah.
Do it now.
It's a great opportunity for us as agents to be reaching out to all of our clients that we've worked with in the past, just to let them know, hey, here's a reminder. Have you done this? Because it's really important. Who wouldn't take a phone call that saves them $1,600?
Right, yeah.
So,
very good.
if you're my client, I might be calling you.
Go to the state tax website to get more information. Get signed up. It's 30 seconds, a minute long. We're going to jump into some other hot properties. Honestly, this is my favorite part. I love showing the people what some of these properties look like. Sometimes you just don't get to see them. There's so much uniqueness about real estate. There's so many unique factors. There's rural properties, there are high-end homes, and there are also homes that are great investments. There's so many different dynamics, so many different options when it comes to real estate, and there's so much, like I said, uniqueness. Unless you're getting just a single condo, there's so many different things to think about. Even in condos, there's still a wide variety of what you can find out there. So we're gonna jump into the first one here. And this one is through our office with Amy Hullett at Century 21 Morrison Realty. Thank you, Amy, for this. Awesome listing, rural property. And Melanie, I don't think you or I have been to this one ourselves, but one of the unique things about this one is it does have that access to the Missouri River. And I don't know if we can go to the next screen, if that one shows a map. I believe it might. I think this is in North Mandan. Yep, North Mandan. So as you're getting closer to Harmon up there, the blue star, that's where we're looking at. Yeah, any thoughts on this one, Melanie?
Let's go, if we can go back to that other picture. Yep, if we can go back to that other picture. Yes, have not personally been to this property, but I definitely would love to check it out. I don't know about you, but I have been seeing an uptick in buyers when they're looking, they're saying they want a view or they want a little bit of land or looking more at rural properties than in the city limits. Notice that one, it looks like it has a really cool greenhouse. You could do a lot of things with that little hobby farm.
There's a lot of people that want to live off the land. They want chickens, they want cows.
Granola mom or whatever they call, whatever we call them. Yeah, I want to be one of those, but I'm not.
I've got too much gray hair. I'm sorry, I'm a city slicker. I've definitely sold a lot of rural properties, and I love that. Actually, I talked to my daughter this morning. She's in the market, so she's looking. And she said, Dad, I just want to get 40 acres. And I'm like, yeah, I have to be young again. And I would still do it. I'm still young at heart, but man, I'm just too close to the city myself, where just the amenities and having 7 kids, it's like I can't even imagine the logistics already are like making the Swiss trains run on time. But certainly for some people, what are the kinds of people that you see that are starting to be attracted to?
That is a hard question to answer because it's really all over the board.
Yeah.
Like you said, I have some really younger, what I would consider younger people, mid-20s, early 30s, that are looking to go rural for even buying a little livestock, which I think is amazing and super cool that they have a business mind as well. But then I also see the people in their 50s and 60s wanting to get a smaller home but still have the opportunity to have some land. I have noticed with the rural property that comes on the hot sheet, it does go quickly. It really does, which means when I say the hot sheet, that's our MLS listing system. If it's priced well and it has acreage attached, even if the home is a little bit older, we are seeing some great pricing. Sellers still getting some great pricing and it going really quickly.
Yeah, and I think after I said the question, as of the words coming out of my mouth, we don't talk about demographics because we encourage everyone to be able to buy wherever they want, 100%. But it's interesting just to see the trend of, I see the younger generation just as a whole being more interested in getting out and actually being with the earth more and being more in tune with them. I've never had that desire to want to do that, but I guess when Armageddon comes, and I'll be out, but maybe my daughter will let me in and give me some chickens. But no, And you can still have that country life, and that's the great thing about Bismarck, and still be close to a lot of amenities. There's a lot of opportunities outside of Bismarck, like this property, for that's still within distance of town.
We have a lot of view lots in Bismarck too. Yeah. If you're thinking neighborhoods like Misty, Hawktree, Promontory, South Bay, there's different beautiful view lots all over our city, in town as well, like you said. Yeah. I love that.
If we can go to the next property on the list here. Let's see, this is also with Amy at Century 21. I have brought this up because this is a different aspect of real estate. We've seen some of the higher quality homes, the higher end homes. This is a pretty quality home too. It's just not the same granite countertops I might see in one of the fine homes, obviously. This is a triplex, and this one is in Mandan. So if you're looking for something that is a little more on the investment side, this is 3 doors, 3 units. And so just another idea, another opportunity out there of what's on the market to entice people that are looking to try to make some money. And I've seen, so the thing that I love about a property like this is it's first-time home buyer eligible.
That's what I was just gonna say too. Yes, I'm sorry. No, as I was looking at that picture, I thought, what a wonderful opportunity for somebody to start as a first-time homeowner and be an owner-occupied. Right. Live in one, rent out the others. Let your tenants help you with that house payment, gaining equity, and then eventually using it as a full rental as you move into your next chapter. Just love that.
So the first-time homebuyer program, again, we were talking before the break because we're not lenders. We can't say much about what you can buy, finance, and all that. We know just enough. We get emails all the time from lenders. So obviously, we are communicating with our clients about, hey, check this out. We got an email the other day. It's a federal program. It's a home loan bank program that basically it's 4.875%. It's a fantastic deal. And this is something that everyone should look into. There are caveats, like with every program, you fit different molds. And I don't know about you, Mel, but for me, one of the things that I do with my clients is I give them multiple recommendations for lenders. And basically, based on what they're telling me, I might steer them to one that has certain programs that have that low interest rate. I might steer them to another lender who I heard has a program that can help with down payment assistance, which is the North Dakota housing program. And then there are certain lenders that can do that. And then there are other lenders who have other investors and other programs where they're excellent, the VA loans. So as you say your situation, in my mind, I don't know, that's the same with you, Mel, that you think of certain lenders depending on what they're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Once we understand our clients a little bit better in their situation, we are able to narrow it down to 2 or 3 that our clients have enjoyed working with in the past and saying, here are a list of 2 to 3 names of lenders that my clients have enjoyed. And I think that it would fit the programs that you need. Why don't you give them a call? Feel them out, see what they can offer you, and let's go from there. Yeah.
And especially in the investment world, like there's going to be even though you may use the lender for a certain purpose when buying a home, that lender may not be the most ideal for an investment property. Or so now I remember having lunch one time with the lender, and he said that there's a lot of things that we don't know, which I totally agree. We don't know until they ask. So we always say, ask the professional, ask the one that's specialized in it, because they're the one that's going to know the most.
Yeah, and I think that goes with everything that we talked about today. We can give our opinions and try and steer them in the right direction, but on none of the topics that we talked about today is our profession. We're not CPAs, we're not lawyers, we're not title companies, we're not mortgage lenders.
But the thing is that we do talk about them because we are the one who refers.
Yeah, get the information out there.
We know just enough to be dangerous or just enough to be helpful so that we can at least get them to someone who can. And we deal with so many different types of contractors, whether it's roofers, plumbers, electricians, all the trades, in addition to, like you said, the CPA, financial advisors. There's just so many different avenues we touch that we have to be knowledgeable on the high level of all this stuff. If we can go to the next property on the list, I think we're at, yes, okay. So this one is mine. This was in north of Crown Butte area, so about 5 miles west. So this one is 19 acres. It does have multiple parcels, so you can actually split it in half. I just love this photo. I don't know. It's just beautiful. And it has the free water for life.
Yeah, tell me about that, Will.
Yeah. So this one, I just love uniqueness, right? Because you're not going to find another property for a very long time for free water, except if you want to pull it from the river or something like that.
Yeah.
But this one is totally free because they have made a deal with the people of Crown Butte to put a tower. It's not really it's like a reservoir. It's not that big. It's about size of a 1-2 story house, something like that. But they just house the water there, and in I guess in consideration for that, they're letting them just use all the water they want. So it is a horse property. It does have a shop on it, and excuse me, it is split into two. So if you do want to sell off one, you could. It says 20 acres, you could split off. And
Okay.
Mel, I know you got a buyer for this.
That is a great opportunity. Yeah.
You got a buyer for this. I know.
The kids always wanted horses. Yeah, that's great. I love it. I think it's wonderful. And Crown Butte is not far.
Yeah.
Is it what? It's about 7 minutes or
yeah,
so?
5 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of Mandan.
Yeah. So
Cool. That should sell fast for your sellers.
do we have one more? I think we have one more property on the list, and we'll just be brief with this one. This was the sheriff's auction. So this one is a 4.1 assumable loan, just crazy interest rate. It is listed at 45, but there is a lot of interest because of the sheriff's auction to get it moved quicker. So again, another investment side.
I love this property. I've been in this property.
Yeah, okay.
I have, yes. I actually have been in it when it was operating as the business it was before. And it's a great property. And yes, so I encourage.
All new inside.
I encourage people to look into it. Does the business still come with the property, or is it just the real estate?
A lot of personal property with it too. Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you, Mel, for joining us.
You're welcome. I had a great time.
Very informative today, and we will see you next time. Thank you for joining us on Open Range.
What's going on, everybody? Dr. Jake Schmitz back with another Freedom Health Talk on Open Range. I figured this is the perfect time to wear my Patriots hat when they have lost, because it shows what a real fan would do, right? We don't just wear our stuff when they're winning. We wear it when they're losing as well. I'm also a Vikings fan, so clearly something wrong with me. So anyway, let's talk today. I thought, this is a good day. I'm going to wear my hat today. Just going to support what just happened. So we're going to talk about the difference between toxins versus toxicants and why the distinguishing characteristics matter. I'm also going to talk about how, and we'll see, this might end up like a two-parter, but how I ended up with a 30-minute argument with ChatGPT today over this entire topic. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to talk about the concept of agency suppression, institutionalized, I won't say knowledge, but institutionalized regulation. And I want to talk about in the context of things like Roundup, pesticides. And again, I'm not an all or none person. I don't think this is a black and white conversation. I think there's a lot of gray area here. But as it stands, I'm going to talk about the difference between toxin and a toxicant, so that when you are having a conversation with somebody, use the right word. Because a lot of times we say that's a toxin. What a toxin would be like if you're exposed to mold, that's a toxin. If you are bit by a snake and with snake venom, that's a toxin. That's something that comes from a living organism and it's bad for you. It's a toxin. A toxicant, on the other hand, would be something like heavy metals that are put in products, or vaccines. That'd be like pesticides that are sprayed on your food. Those are toxicants, all right? So generally speaking, when a person says toxin, and I get it colloquially, we're referring to toxin as a toxicant or toxicant as a toxin, right? So we're using the word interchangeably when in reality it's not. Toxicant is the real word that you want to be using. At the end of the day, nobody really cares. I just want you to know that when you're talking to anybody who's a health professional, medical doctor, or whatever, if you use the wrong term, let's say you're trying to convince somebody or you're talking to somebody about why organic food is better. All right. I'm just using this blindly or generically. You're going to say why organic food is better. And you're referencing something, you're talking to somebody who's like an expert, quote unquote, like a medical doctor, right? And if you use the word toxin, that will, and again, I don't think this is correct. I don't think it's right because there's a fallacy involved, and I'll explain the fallacy here in a second. But if you use the incorrect word, the person you were speaking to could use that as a way to refute your argument. And again, there's a logical fallacy involved. I can't remember the exact term, but it's the fallacy of argument, like the argumenter, meaning I may not be a great argumenter. I may not be somebody who's really good at elucidating or speaking the argument into reality. It doesn't negate or refute my points. It just means that I maybe don't know all the terms correctly. But my point though is that it's a toxicant. If somebody's saying that's a toxin, generally it's a toxicant. Now again, you probably don't give a crap about that, which is fine. It's just something that's one of those that, in my world, using the correct term, and I've done it before too. I use the wrong word. And generally, like I said, the average person doesn't care. I just thought maybe you would. So if you're referencing something that's in the food supply, if you're referencing something that might be bad for you or bad with consumption, it's a toxicant generally. If it comes from an organism, something that's alive, like I said, snake venom, mold, tetanus, whatever, that's a toxin. All right. There's a difference in case you care. Now let's talk about my conversation I had with ChatGPT this morning. And I kind of went down this road, and let me say this. I love using ChatGPT. I had a conversation with a patient this morning about ChatGPT and how, if used correctly, it's a wonderful tool to help. And what I use it for is to offload a lot of the heavy legwork when it comes to researching. I love using it to condense research into something that's really easy and palatable. Like I can take and say, let's condense. What do the studies show on X, Y, and Z? And then ChatGPT, now granted, you have to go and make sure that all of this stuff is legit because it's not always accurate, right? We know that. But generally speaking, it's pretty accurate. So for me, I can say, hey, what are the studies on zinc and the immune response? And we'll have a huge discussion. And when I say discussion, obviously I'm typing, but like discussion, I use that loosely with ChatGPT over the studies, and we can really pare down from there. And for me, it's a really great tool that I use to synthesize my talking points, especially for you guys as we're talking here, or in any kind of like debate context. Or a lot of times I'll use it to be like, hey, so-and-so is making this argument. I feel like there's a logical fallacy there. What is it? And it's great for that. ChatGPT is a wonderful tool. And today I got into a 30-minute argument with ChatGPT over the concept of institutionalized agency regulation, like EPA. And I was talking about Roundup specifically. And there are studies that have been done, and I'll use this in the world, on the dangers of pesticides and even Roundup, but just pesticides even in general, and how it increases the rates or incidence of cancer in farming communities. There are studies that support that say, yes, it does in fact increase cancer rates. This brought me back to House Bill 1318 this last session, which was Bayer, right? The creator of Roundup, actually Monsanto, but Monsanto was purchased by Bayer. So Bayer is now the creator of Roundup. That Bayer went and created an organization of different agencies, different organizations within the agricultural space. And they created this group, and the group has gone around to a bunch of states to try to get regulation and laws passed. And we just got one passed in North Dakota that limits liability for pesticide producers. Meaning, if a pesticide caused cancer for you, you wouldn't be able to sue. I advocated against that. I fought against that for our state. And I said, this is a really bad idea. And this is only person benefiting from this is Bayer, right? So in the context of that, I was talking to ChatGPT about pesticides and how the regulators, the EPA, or if it's drugs, the FDA, what we've seen, we have evidence of this, that the way, like EPA, for example, when it pertains to Roundup, they've decided that it's not likely carcinogenic, meaning it doesn't cause cancer or not likely to cause cancer. That's their official position. The way they landed at that position was they took studies that were supplied mainly by the companies that produce the pesticides. So the companies themselves get to, and again, the same thing with the FDA, right? If the FDA wants to approve a drug, let's say Vioxx, the company will run a study and they have to supply the study that shows that it's safe for consumption. What we found out with Vioxx is that they lied they intentionally didn't give the complete and accurate information in study. And we lost, I think 50,000 people died within 6 months of Vioxx being put on the market. They got sued, pulled it off the market. They still made $20 billion on the product. There's some stupid number like that. So the point being is that companies lie. And we know that's a fact. The EPA, for example, as it pertains to Roundup, does not look at any studies, and it has repeatedly refused to look at studies that come from other countries. Like I said, there were studies that were done down in Mexico. There were studies that were done in Brazil. There's been studies that have been done that demonstrate that increased Roundup usage increases the rates and incidence of cancer. Like I said, I presented these studies in the North Dakota legislature, and I was told the EPA has decided it's safe and we should trust the EPA. So anyway, I got into a 30-minute argument with ChatGPT over this, and I kept saying, no, this isn't a black and white issue. My point is that it's been shown in studies to be a toxicant, right? If I'm using the correct term. So why this is an important conversation to have. And we found this with COVID, right? The institution told us X, Y, and Z. We later found out, right? That we as a country and the world in the terms of COVID found out that was crap. It wasn't scientifically founded. It was proven to be wrong. 2 weeks to flatten the curve was wrong. Wearing the masks didn't help. Like, we found these things out after the fact. My point is that we shouldn't inherently trust the regulators. And part of my evidence for that is it's something called Chevron, which you probably have no clue what that is. There's a federal doctrine that says that we should grant the regulatory agencies deference. They're the experts. We should believe them. Chevron just got overturned. And I thought, how does that kind of pair with this conversation? That we shouldn't just give the agency carte blanche expert designation. We should question. That's where the argument stems from. They're like, we still should trust the agencies, even though they've been shown, like DDT, right? Found out it's safe. No, it's actually not. But we didn't know. That's the point. Anyway, my entire point of this entire thing was that you need to start questioning things. Ask better questions, you get better results. So that's it. Just ask better questions. When it comes to toxins or toxicants, just know less is more. Just don't put it in your system and you'll be better. We'll see what happens with this segment. That was a nice little segue. This is Dr. Jake Schmitz with another Freedom Health Talk on Open Range. I love you guys. Ask better questions, get better results. Until next time, talk soon.